What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Oxtane, and today I want to do a PvP gearing video for Phase 5 for Shaman in Classic WoW. Now, I did a video, I think about a month back, on PvE gearing of Resto going into AQ. I got some pretty positive reception from that video, as well as some requests to do an elemental gearing guide. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. It's going to be a different format than before, but I hope you guys enjoy this. I made a bunch of different sets that I think are relevant to different situations. Going to go a little bit more in depth in terms of not keeping it as generic as the PvE video, but going into a little bit more specifics about dueling, BGs, world PvP, different specs that would be used in those scenarios, different gearing choices, things like that. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is show you guys the current gear that I am rocking right now on Classic WoW. And this is as of September 20th, 2020. So here we go. So right now I have the 3-piece tier 2.5. I have ZG enchant on my helm. I have the Charm of the Shifting Sands from AQ20 as the neck piece because it is budget choker, because I don't have choker. My guild doesn't even do full MCs anymore, which is unfortunate. I have the Stormcaller's Pauldrons normally. If I'm actually doing PvP actively, I have the spell damage enchant from ZG. Right now I have 33 healing just because I've been mostly raid spec for healing and doing things like that. Then I have Cloak of the Broodlord. A few other cloaks I do have though for PvP is Chromatic Cloak in certain situations as NS, and Saffron Drape versus like mages and stuff. Stormcaller's chest piece, so that rounds out the 3-piece is what I have right now. Plus 100 HP. I like that for dueling and just general use, even though I use it for raiding. I don't know, I just like 100 HP. Then I have the Shackles of the Unscarred, which comes off the last boss at AQ20. I really like this because it's I was using the Exalted Wrists for Warsong, which are 22 spell power, but these are only one less with more stam and more int, and they have spell pen, which is really nice in duels and even in BGs, so I like those personally. Gauntlets of Kalimdor with I did do the frost damage enchant because I didn't really, I mean, that's probably the best option honestly, just because frost shock does so much damage. I really like these more than the leather gloves from AQ, which I haven't even seen drop anyway, but yeah. It is worth noting also that I am NS most of the time when I'm out in the world or dueling or whatever. It's just my preferred spec. Then I have Mana Igniting Cord because I'm, well, let's be honest, I'm never going to get the belt off Cthulhu. Rank 12 boots and pants for the set bonus, plus they're very similar in terms of how similar they are to the tier 2.5, basically the same pieces more or less, but with more stam, 100 HP enchant on this, and again to keep that stam bonus for open world PvP and dueling, it's really nice to have the extra HP. I do have these with the ZG enchant as well though, the Stormcaller's leggings. And I also obviously have the Stormcaller's foot guards, which are good in certain situations. The spell pen and everything's nice. Then I have the Exalted Brutanazdorma ring. It's really nice across the board. Like 28 spell power is actually a lot. It's only 5 less than something like Ring of Spell Power from MC, but you actually get int and stam with this one and MP5, so it's really nice. Really like that. And then Dragon Slayer's Signet, because again, most of the time I'm NS, so having the crit is pretty nice, plus the stats in general are pretty insane. Some of the other rings I have are Band of Sulphurous, I have Band of Servitude, I have this ring from the Scarab Lord quest chain that's pretty nice against mages and even like rogues just for a lot of stam. Ring of Binding for meme resist sets, Steel Archmages for the same thing, and then the others are just the ones I use for raid healing. Then Zandarin Hero Charm. Yeah, I mean, trinkets are like a whole different thing, and I have like a billion and even more in my bank. But yeah, these are just some of the engineering trinkets and everything that I have. AGM, things like that. So now I want to get into the sets that I built for this video. These are all on 60upgrades.com. You can visit. I'll have a link in the description to all these sets and stuff, my character profile on 60 upgrades, so you can check out all the specs that I've put in and all the sets and everything. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at those. So I have several different sets here that I made on the website for you guys to check out. And again, I'll go through them in this video, but if you want to have a look at it, at any of them at any point, again, I will leave the link to my profile on 60 upgrades in the description below so you can check out stuff for yourself. So basically, I have an assortment of sets from NS to EM. One's for dueling, one's general purpose, and ranking gear and non-ranking gear sets, stuff like that. So I tried to incorporate as many things as possible, even some budget PvP sets for like either alts or lower servers that don't have access to AQ or things like that. So I tried to be overall pretty generally accommodating. So first we'll tackle EM, then we'll go into NS, then we'll tackle more of like dueling stuff. So these are going to be more general purpose PvP sets starting off. So first off, I'm starting off with the EM and no ranking set build. So you can see everything that I have listed here. So I won't, break down every piece or anything like that. Obviously, you can see it. But the main thing I want to cover is, I guess, there are some pieces that are flexible, like the trinkets. I kind of just did whatever. Offhand, like you may want a shield instead. So again, there's a lot of things that we can go over here. But generally, with the EM no ranking set, what I did is I put the 3 set tier 2.5 because it's just so good. Whether you're NS, EM, I mean 50 spell power on demand, and it procs like literally every other spell. It says 20% on the description, but I've had times where literally like every spell it procs. Like it procs all the time. So you pretty much always want to keep that set no matter what. It will lock you into some spots, but generally the tier 2.5 gear is so good anyway that it's like, why wouldn't you want to use it? On top of getting 50 spell power every so often, it's definitely worth it. I have the ZG enchant on the helm here, but honestly, like 100 HP I really like for PvP as well. If you're a budget Andy, you can go with the old like 8 spell damage enchant or whatever. It's always an option, but ZGs aren't too hard to run, and you may get a lucky idol every now and then, so not too bad. Then obviously like spell damage, everything, right? The basics. Same with the chest piece here, like either all 4 stats or like 100 HP. I typically just use 100 HP because general purpose, dueling, everything, it's pretty good. And I like it. I just like being beefier because I feel like I already do enough damage, but there's a lot of different things. A key piece here, honestly, in general purpose use, like world PvP, BGs, is actually these wrists right here because of spell pen, which is really good, and they're basically the more or less probably the best wrists you could get in the game. Like spell power wise, there's really only like Rock Fury bracers are higher. There's a few that are higher, but in terms of having good int, good stam, good spell damage, plus in this case it has the spell pen, I just feel like overall bang for your buck, these are the best wrists you can get in the game for general purpose PvP. There's not really any good male wrists other than like tier 1 is like, I mean at this point isn't very good, but it's okay if you have nothing else. or the ZG wrists I would recommend personally if you want to wear mail. But these aren't hard to get because it's just an AQ20, and it's like never rezzed or anything if you have like soft reses. It's generally a PvP item, so you should be able to get it like relatively easily. Obviously Locomir. And I have Master Dragon Slayer's Orb here, but like Vekor would be really good, but obviously it's like prior to actual caster DPS and raids, so it might be really hard. Zane's Touch is really nice for EM. This is actually really good even for EM. It's a little less spell power, but that'll be better for something like NS versus like casters, but it's still really good. So again, this is no ranking gear. So, you know, you haven't ranked at all. This is like what I would consider most people, right? Most people haven't ranked or done anything like that, so they just have the gear that's put in front of them. So, then obviously Totem of the Storm or Totem of Rage is a good option. Totem of Rage, we'll get into that situationally, can possibly be better than Storm, but Storm like overall use is definitely better. Karaji Fury, which is really good. They come off of Sartura, as you can see here. Very high spell power for something like EM, really good, and still 1% crit. Having like some additional crit is still really nice. I went with Firemaw's Clutch if you have access to it. Is really good. Mana Igniting Cord is still debatably probably about the same. It's 10 less spell power, which like for EM might be a little worse, but it just depends on what you want. A balance of crit and spell power, things like that. Generally, most people just zug full spell power for EM, but I can see the balance of powers a little bit when you play EM for sure, when your cooldown's down. And then Stormcallers is really good to keep that 3-set bonus with more spell pen. As far as the rings, so most of these sets are containing what I would consider BIS pieces. Ring of the Fallen God might be hard to get just because, I mean, it does drop every week because it's just off the Eye of Cthulhu, but generally, if you get that as a shaman, people are going to want to have you take like the healing neck. So if you don't, people might be a little mad. That's kind of my plans, is to take it for the ring, but even if that means I take it later, then that's perfectly fine, because again, it drops every week, so you will get it eventually. So, and it's the highest spell power ring in the whole game right now, so it's definitely really good. And 1% spell hit, if you use it like general purpose always, then that's 1 talent point that you can take off the hit talent in the Ellie tree and put it into something else. So that's also something to keep in mind that we'll discuss a little bit later. The Brood of Nozdormu ring is really good. You saw that I had that on my shaman. And yeah, I would overall, like, multi-purpose use, I would consider it to be better than something like Ring of Spell Power, just because it's only 5 less spell power, but it's got stam, and it's got MP5. So overall as a ring, it's definitely much better. If you're not exalted, even like the honored version or the revered version is like very similar and only a few points off in each. So even that I would still say is probably better than Ring of Spell Power. As far as your trinkets, I mean, it really depends on like if you're dueling, what you're dueling against, if you're using, you know, if you're in world PvP or whatever. Generally, if I'm out in the open world PvPing, I'm usually equipping PvP trinket in case there's a rogue or something, maybe a druid. And usually if I'm EM, I'm equipping something like Natural Alignment Crystal, something like Zandalar Hero Charm. But Nelth tier, I mean, if you actually had it, would actually be kind of insane. So that's kind of why I put that here. But I mean, you know, situationally, like most of the time you're gonna want to use on-use trinkets in BGs out in the open world, like most of the time, right? So don't know how much actual application a Nelth tier has in PvP, but it would still be nice for sure. Yeah, Sandalwood Hero Charm. NAC, let me see if I can find it here. NAC is actually better, I guess, as like, I don't know. I've tested the damage difference. I feel like you do more with Natural Alignment Crystal than Hero Charm. It's very similar, but especially if you're EM, you might as well use Alignment Crystal because the mana drain, or, well, not mana drain, but, you know, the extra mana usage doesn't really matter, at least in the first 2 casts, I guess you're doing, right? So, I would use NAC, personally. And then you can see like stats and everything down here. So you don't have that much health in this set, but that's with using an offhand instead of like Malice Stars or something. It's not too much of a difference though, generally. You actually have a pretty decent amount of mana at 6k. Good spell damage. You actually have more frost because of the 20 frost enchant that I put on this sim or whatever, but that's a little pricey and probably not even worth the price, to be quite honest. But it's like a drip enchant, you know, like you want to flex, you know, I got the 20 spell power enchant, right? Something like that. So and that's what I love about this set, is you just get like so much of everything. Like you can see all the primary attributes and even all like the spell stuff. Not that much MP5, but you can just see so much of everything. It's actually kind of insane. That's why I really love Shaman tier 2.5. So we'll move on to the next set, which is EM plus rank 12. Now it's a little subjective, obviously, and like the rank 12 gear, I'm a little biased because I like being more beefy. I like having more HP because I'm never worried about me killing somebody. I'm worried about me dying. If you saw me in the recent CDL 3 versus 3 tournament, which I have VODs of on my Twitch channel if you want to check that out, I was like always the first one to die, and I have ranking gear on. Like, I mean, if I'm the kill target and 3 people are on me, I'm probably gonna die anyway, but I'm just like so used to dying before I kill somebody that I'm just naturally kind of biased into making my character like as beefy as possible to not die. So I'm a little biased in that regard, but overall, if you're rank 12 like I am, I usually just do this like you saw at the beginning. I just wear both these for the set bonus. Firemouse clutch. So like not much has really changed here other than equipping these and then equipping the Stormcallers to keep the set bonus. But that's more or less the exact same gear as the other one, except you're just swapping. It's basically almost the same gear that I wear, honestly. You're just swapping to the rank 12 to keep the stand bonus, maybe slip on 100 HP to boots like or not boots, legs that I do. Something like that, right? And then just swapping the shoulders. So pretty simple here. So EM plus rank 14 I have. So I swapped out the offhand for the High Warlord shield. So you can see how the stats are changing from set to set here. And I mean, honestly, yeah, that's really it, more or less. So then we will go into NS and no ranking. So again, using BIS pieces technically, so like Amulet of Vecnalash, like, I mean, good luck getting it over like a Fire Mage or something, but hey, maybe you do, you know. If not, honestly, it's pretty much just like between Choker and Charm of Shifting Sands, honestly. Everyone should pretty much have access to the AQ20 next, so I don't really think there's any excuse unless it's not open yet or something. Like, just about everyone should have it. It drops every time you do it. Nobody really cares about it. You won't get the healing neck from it, but, I mean, you know, whatever. So, then I have tier 2. Again, this is the no ranking set. So, tier 2 shoulders for 1% crit because you're going NS. They also have a ton of armor and a 23 stam, which is pretty juicy. And then you have Chromatic Cloak I swapped in here. I really like the resistances. I still think Saf Drape is like perfectly viable just because of the int and the spell power, but I kind of like Chromatic Cloak with NS personally, but it's really just a preference thing. Saffron Drape or Cloak of the Broodlord, something like that is like very much comparable. Then again, keeping the 3 set here at the chest piece, same bracers, different offhand. This is actually a really good offhand that surprisingly is not really contested by like a lot of mages or anything, that, at least that I've seen in the runs that I've done of AQ20. This drops off Moam, and it's actually really good. So if you can get your hands on it situationally, it's pretty good. Other than that, I stock Waste Cord, which again, like, kind of good luck getting it off Cthulhu, like literal Bis Mage, like every caster in the game waste until like TBC. So yeah, I mean, it might just drop enough that like you get it eventually anyway, but I use Mana Igniting Cord. It's just, you know, I mean, obviously it's not as good, but it's probably the best you can get in the game other than Ice Stock for sure. I like Karaji Fury here. Again, really good, really solid. For the rings, I do Dragon Slayers and the Ring of Chaos. Now, this is like an extremely rare drop based on everything that I know. So, again, we're using like hypothetical BIS pieces here, but if you don't ever get one of these or even see one of these, and even if you do, again, it's probably going to be contested by a mage, right? So, Ring of the Fallen God, like, again, if you can actually get that, is basically just as good as anything. Force Concentration, like, really just anything. The Bruta Nozdormu ring, just like a spell power ring, like, that's what I use as your second ring. I wouldn't really go with, like, a pure crit ring unless it's absolutely necessary. It's just, there's not too much point. And then, yeah, again, general trinkets. Eye of the Beast, I actually do kind of use situationally. And again, you can see the crit here is like 25.5% almost, so it's pretty insane, actually. And then, so we're gonna go to NS rank 12. So again, not much has changed. It's pretty much more or less, other than eye stock and like the offhand and stuff, this is basically almost the exact same gear that I wear. Again, other than the neck piece and some of the obvious pieces that I don't have, like the rings, Nelt tier, etc. So you can see the difference there. Rank 14 is where it gets kind of interesting, but if you're rank 14, chances are you're already using this stuff anyway. The only thing that's different is swap the shield, and the Spellblade is better if you're NS than Locomir. It just is. Kind of makes me wish I finished to rank 14, but hey, what are you gonna do? It's really, really good though, obviously. So that is about it with the overall basic sets, general purpose sets. So I have some dueling sets here. Now I have no AQ excess for EM and NS, so I guess we can just get into these. So I built these in case you have an alt shaman that you're not going to do AQ on, you're on a server that you're just not going to raid AQ. It's not even open yet if you're really unfortunate enough to be on one of those servers. So I think I got just about everything right. Like, I removed like any AQ enchants, stuff like that. So I have 5 thunders here, and again, this is a dueling set, but honestly this could even be like a general purpose set too. And this is for EM. So I actually have the upgraded dungeon helm. I really like this one. I also think tier 2 is like basically the same, but it has frost and shadow resist, I believe. So for dueling and like certain scenarios, it's actually better than this. But this is like it's a kind of a sleeper helm. Like, it's pretty good. People don't know how good it is, but and people kind of forget it exists. I guess because you need the original dungeon set helm to, you know, do the quest to do this one. But if you can get your hands on it, it's pretty good. Honestly, the whole set. I mean, if you look at the set bonus, like if you're just on like an alt or something, it's actually really good. But anyway, I still have choker here again though. Like, And obviously we'd scratch Charm of the Shifting Sands. So maybe go like Orb of Dark Moon or something if you can't get a choker. Something like that. Even the ZG neck right here. It doesn't have like any stats other than spell power, but it's still better than nothing. I have Deep Earth Spalders. Saffron Drape here. I have the ZG chest piece. ZG bracers. I still have Loke. If Loke is too hard for you to get, there's a lot of different options. So Claw of Chromag, I guess, but if you can get Claw, then you can get Loke. So the hammer from AQ20 is really good. Probably the best weapon other than Loke one-hander that you could get that isn't from BWL. But the trade-off is you have to be exalted with Cenarian Circle. I'm almost positive. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the condition. So, might be hard, but yeah, since this is the no AQ set, then obviously that doesn't apply, but I still thought I'd bring it up anyway. Fang of the Mystics from Azergos is like really good, but you know, it's a world boss, so it might be kind of sketch. Let's see here. Yeah, Mind Fang from Exalted AB, which I know a lot of people on like the lesser populated realms where AQ's not open do PvP, so that might actually be a decent option for you. There's some ZG weapons as well in there that are available. I just have Malastars as the offhand. I still really like Malastars to this day over like just about any offhand. I just think it's a really solid item overall, and it just has a ton of armor and stuff. It's crazy that that's a phase 1 item. Tier 1 gloves are still probably more or less gonna be BIS for you. If you don't care as much about the crit, you could also do like tier 2 is still decent. I have Fire Moss Clutch here. You could do Mana Igniting, whatever you have access to. I believe the untapped Power Belt from ZG is also really good here as well. It's 29 spell power, so that's also really good. 10 Storms is easy enough to get. You just have to kill Rag and hope it drops. They're actually still really good at this late in the game. And then I also just put 10 Storms boots, because outside of like the tier boots and stuff, boots are just one of those items for Shaman that like outside of ranking or before AQ with like the tier 2.5, like these are honestly the best you can really get, because there's so many, like it's just such a hard thing to itemize before AQ patch and like later patches. It's just really hard to get good boots. I have Band of Servitude, since again, if you don't have access to AQ, then you won't have like the Brudenaz Dormu rep or anything like that. So that's what I was using, and it's really good. And then I have just Ring of Spell Power, Natural Alignment Crystal, and Hero Charm. Again, your trinkets could vary situationally. Dueling, PvP trinkets always good. The reflectors if you have engineering, stuff like that. And if you want like a more in-depth dueling guide based on like the matchups and stuff, I'd be happy to help anyone that had any questions or make a follow-up video answering any of those questions. So let's see here. So the NS version is not too much different. I'm going to try to speed it up here because I realize this video is getting really long. And I don't want it to be too much longer for you guys here, because I'm kind of just repeating myself at a certain point. So it's not too much different here, other than like I actually think if you don't have any AQ access and no ranking gear, the 5-piece of 10 Storms is really good for NS just because the extra crit, and that's why I have Belt of 10 Storms here. Is just it's the 5th item, and out of like substituting the bracers or something like that, I figured that's just like the best piece to sub in considering everything, because it still has 1% crit, so I feel like that's the best item to sub in there personally. And then I just did like something like Band of Servitude and Dragon Slayer's Signet. So again, I don't know how many people this actually applies to you know, in terms of how many people don't have access to AQ at this point, or how many people are just looking at an alt shaman or something. But I figured I'd put it in here just to have fun and give people a lot of different options when it comes to gearing. So as far as the other dueling sets, we'll just go over them real quick. So this is EM no ranking gear. You can see things here. Now worm scale blocker I actually really like. I think it's better than Malistar's general use. You get plus healing, you only lose a couple MP5, and you get like 200 more armor. Like 3k armor on a shield is pretty disgusting. So I actually really like this for PvP. The only other thing I'll mention is for dueling specifically, Totem of Rage against like a warrior, a rogue, even if you feel like a mage or something, if you're afraid of getting like CS'd, situationally, Totem of Rage I actually like better than Totem of the Storm, because they basically both do the same thing, except this one shocks and this one is chain lightning and lightning bolt, right? But especially against like a rogue or a warrior, you're not going to use those spells as much, so I feel like the shock damage is way better. So if you can get your hands on that, it drops off of the second last boss in BRD, but it's a pretty decent drop rate. So I was doing it on my alt and saw it drop like twice. So it's really good. If you can get your hands on both of those, I would highly recommend. And Totem of the Storm is like super cheap now. So then I have just generally the same stuff pretty much as before. Not much has really changed. Burrower Shell, if you can have this trinket for dueling, is actually amazing, because it's only a little less absorb shield than AGM, potentially more, because I think AGM starts at 750 and it can go to like 1250, I think. So this can potentially be more, lasts the same amount, and this is non-purgeable, which is just insane. So against a priest, against a shaman, another shaman, if you're doing a mirror, it can't be purged, which is ridiculous. So just multi-use in the open world and BGs. This is a insane trinket to have if you can get your hands on it. It drops off Oro, and yeah, it's absolutely insane. And it's like a 2-minute cooldown. Like AGM is a 30-minute cooldown. So this thing is busted if you can get your hands on it, for sure. NAC for EM, again, I feel like that or Hero Charm is like basically the same thing, more or less. But whatever trinket you want to use in those duels is fine. Again, basically the same thing here. The only real things I'm swapping out is like 100 HP enchants. Typically in dueling is better because you want to have more HP. Something like Cape of the Trinity, because it has more stam than other cloaks, I swapped out. Like, that's really the only main difference, is mostly stamina pieces in lieu of maybe a little bit of spell power. But generally I still try to keep the spell power pretty high. You can, if I'm not scrolling down to see all these stats constantly, again, you can check these out on your own and kind of compare the stats of each set and HP, spell power, crit, things like that. EM rank 14, doesn't really change much. The only thing is I pretty much put the ranking stuff on. The High Warlord shield is really, really good. And that's really the only difference. Cloak of the Broodlord swapped out because you get more HP with this shield, so I was like, why not, you know, if you're EM. And then just going down the list here in NS, again, this is no ranking for dueling, so still have like Burrower Shell, Eye of the Beast. The trinkets are kind of meme here because it's really just up to you ultimately. Again, with the 10 Storms, Pauldrons, this neck piece would be ideal, but not everyone's gonna have access to that, so kind of get it. Just general things like that. Again, swapping eye stock for mana igniting, things like that, whatever you have access to. So that is the no ranking set for NS. Rank 12 is more or less what I use, down to the enchants. I just put 100 HP on everything in the NS builds typically, because spell power isn't quite as important, and I like the survivability of 100 HP, but you can really play around with whatever you want. Get the ZG enchants, get something else, whatever's good for you. And NS rank 14, the Spellblade obviously is super dank. An interesting choice here is that I kept the set bonus because I think that these are really good. The tier 2.5 boots are really good for dueling because of the spell pen. And if I was beyond rank 12, like if I had gotten 13 or 14, this is preferably the set I would use. I would keep the set bonus and just use the helmet because you don't need as much spell power, and I like the extra stam. And then swap the boots, and then so you still keep your ranking set bonus, you still keep your tier 2.5 set bonus, and then obviously high warlord, dagger, and shield. And in this set, you would have like 23% crit. You'd still have pretty decent spell damage, and you have like almost 5.2k health. So super beefy. So that generally is everything. The talents I have here are kind of cookie cutter, and generally it's pretty standard. Most people follow, like, some people may not go improve fire totems and put it into something else like reverberation or fully into elemental warding. For dueling, I actually like 3 out of 3 in elemental warding. I don't really have it listed here in the talents in the dueling set, but I also like improved fire totems. So, you know, you kind of just pick and choose what you want. I usually just take points out of convection typically, or maybe put 1 point out of concussion, 1 point out of convection, put 2 in here, and then you kind of get best of both worlds at that point. So you can play around with it whatever you want. But ultimately, that's pretty much it. I know I kind of rambled on here a little bit, guys, but I tried to be as inclusive as I could be with a lot of these sets. I plan on doing a follow-up video that goes more specifically into how to duel versus specific classes, stuff like that. I've been in the old CDL. I just got done with the 3v3 tournament, which was a blast. Not quite like dueling, but it was still fun. So if you guys would be interested in a how to duel as an LE Shaman, both EM and NS versus every class, then that would be a video that I'd love to make for you guys. So let me know in the comments below what you guys want to see. Do you guys want to do a fight-by-fight analysis of Resto Shaman like I did in my last video, except this time go in depth on how to heal effectively in every fight in AQ? I want to go like as in depth as you guys want. I just wanted some basic overview videos. I know this video is like 40 minutes long, but you know, that's how it be. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much and I was able to help you guys a little bit. Let me know in the comments below what you guys want to see next time, and I will see you guys later.